back
Yeah.
to the immigrant parents. You mean content
Oh man.
like YouTube videos and stuff? Or do you like TikToks and that kind of thing, or just conversation amongst like people like that actually talk about immigrant parents?
So I see like clips of like podcasts. Like I've never actually sat down and like listened to a full podcast about it because then it gets like a little triggering.
Yeah.
But like you know, when you watch like TikTok snippets of like the podcast or even like an Instagram video of it, like you just hear how their experiences went and you're like, damn, like I feel seen, I feel hurt. Like they always talk about like, or at least personally, like this like guilt that you feel, right? It's like, now that we're older, we're seeing things in like a more adult perspective. And then
Yeah.
you're almost like aligning with how your parents used to see things. And then you want to do a lot for them. Like you want to take care of your parents the best way that you can, whether it's like financially or like emotionally, whatever. But then like you always ask yourself, like, am I doing that because I feel bad? Like, am I a shitty person?
Or do you feel
You
like
know?
obligated?
Yeah, yeah, the obligation, like, it's oh man, like, the pressure is, like, so much, and, like, when you talk about this stuff with, like, parent or friends that have, like, parents that are a little bit more, like, self-sufficient, they don't really rely on their kids, or, like, even growing up, they never really relied. Oh gosh.
I can kind of
Yeah.
understand. I just as someone, okay, I have one immigrant parent and then one parent who was born
Mhm,
here.
mhm,
And so I don't have the full experience of two immigrant parents, immigrating together and coming here, but I have met enough of my family to understand that a lot of times it might feel like we should be obligated, but I don't think our parents always see it that way, even though they might not show it. I definitely feel like sometimes our parents just want to make sure that we are okay. And
yeah,
them feeling that way about us and then putting the pressure on us sometimes feels like that whole process of making sure we were given all this opportunity was just to make sure that at some point we can take care of them. And culturally, a lot of cultures do this where it's like, you get older, you become successful, you take care of your parents, just like they took care when you were a
mhm,
kid. And it's not a bad thing. However, there are some that take it to the extreme of like, that is your sole purpose, is to make sure that whenever you are successful, I'm like set for the rest of my days. And in that way, yeah, then it's kind of like, why do I have this obligation to you? Like, you're my parent and I love you, but it's like, it's hard out here. It's hard to take care of myself, and it's like I'm taking care of myself, and I'm having to also take or worry about having to potentially take care of you as an adult, just because you're my parent. It's like conflicting
yeah,
feelings. It's like I love you, but at the same time, I hope you understand that just because I'm successful doesn't mean that I have it as easily as you did, just because the world has changed.
yeah, yeah. Damn. Yeah, I mean, when you say, like I mean, just the thought of the "I love you" part, like, it's like literally, like, never good like, I've never really been emotional with my dad, nor have I ever told him, like, "I love you" to him, and sometimes I'm like, he's probably, like, obviously they're not gonna be here forever, but there's a high
Yeah.
chance that he's literally never gonna hear me say "I love you," like, sad as it is.
So I will say that with my relationship with my dad was very strenuous for a long time, and recently it's become a lot better.
Mhm.
And it's just because I kind of had to like analyze our relationship basically and kind of see like, all right, where am I doing? Where am I at fault and where is he at fault? Because he's not,
Mm.
it's not completely on one side or the other. But as an adult, like now man to man, I kind of need to like understand you. And
Yeah.
one thing I also had to acknowledge was that we as their kids are more emotionally intelligent than our parents are. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
fact almost for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's just because where they
Yeah.
come from. Like immigrating to a country that you have never been to before, you don't really know what's going on. It's just a land of opportunity. 'Cause sometimes for better or worse, those kind of like, you know, those kind of feelings that you're able to freely express and those emotions that you're able to freely express, you can't really do that because you got to focus on making sure that your family survives and that you didn't make a mistake by doing this, like by taking this leap and doing this.
Yeah.
So it's
Sure.
kind of like if I can give up one thing to make sure we all succeed, it might be like though that emotional intelligence. And I kind of like,
That
my dad, like I said, we repaired it now. Like I'll tell my dad I love him. He's cool with it.
Oh,
Like he'll tell me that too. Like it just takes time. It takes effort, and it's not to
yeah.
put anything on you by any means and say like this is what you should do, but it's just
Yeah, yeah,
I just say I understand where you're coming from. It might take a little
yeah,
longer, but
for sure. Like I try. And then you know, sometimes I think about going back to the whole guilt thing, right? Like I feel so like bad sometimes. Like they don't have the same things that we do, you know? So I think about traveling, right? Going out of the country. Like back whenever they were our age, they didn't have the opportunity, whether it be financials or, life, whatever, because they literally had their first kid whenever they were my age. Well,
Mhm.
maybe earlier than that. But then it's I don't think that these are things that they feel bad for. So then why do I feel bad for it? Do you ever feel like that? I don't know.
In a way, my dad, he got the chance to experience a lot of things, and he kind of did. And so when it comes to that part of it, I'm just kind of like, he's not missing out. He's already seen the world, and so he's gotten the chance to experience a lot of stuff just by fortunate circumstance. But to that point, I think it's not so much that they don't feel bad about not being able to experience that. It's because they found what they like and what makes them happy based on the experiences and the life they lived.
Yeah.
They did what they did to make sure that you had the opportunity to travel. And so for them, traveling might not be a thing because it wasn't something that they had opportunity for. And never really crossed their mind to be like, I'm going to come here and start a family and then also be able to travel around the world. Now, if they happen to win the
Right.
lottery or something and never have to work again, then yeah, definitely. But for
Yeah.
the most part, it's kind of just like, yeah, they're traveling a lot of stuff's kind of like for my daughter to do. I'm glad she's able to do it, kind of thing. Like my mom is someone who
Yeah.
tells me that too. She's really just always glad that my brother and I are able to do what we do and travel and get to see the world and stuff like that. You know, so I
Yeah.
think it comes from like a place of pride. It's like I'm glad I was able to raise my kid and give them what they needed to get here, to get to something that I couldn't get.
Yeah. Oh damn. I literally never thought of it like that. Like, they would feel a sense of pride, you know? I always associate that shit with guilt.
You know, I feel that way though, man. Immigrant parents are tough. Like growing up with them is not easy,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't change it. I don't know. I just kind of proud of who I am, and I'm glad that I got here. And I don't think I would have if my dad wasn't as hard on me as he was. Same with my mom too. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a different type of at least compared to I feel with parents that are more Americanized and everything, it's definitely a good experience. Yeah, man. I hope I'm not being awkward.
not at all.